Welcome to our very first episode of Trust the Effing Podcast. We're so excited to be here and we're very happy that you're joining us. Listen, guys, things get a little weird in this first episode. We even admit that we're weirdos. And because we want to talk about all kinds of stuff that not everybody's talking about, but we think that lots of people want to hear it. So let's dive into some conversations. Today it's going to be about the full moon. We even touch on past life regressions and even some chakra dancing. So tune in, grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and maybe by the end of this, you'll decide you're a weirdo too.
I am one of your co-hosts, Jennifer Fleischman.
And my name's Rebecca Schmidt. I'm here in Costa Rica today, and Jen is
I'm in the Adirondack region of New York State.
Beautiful there. We're excited to be here. I mean, this is our first episode, so, bear with us as we dive into this world, but we're really excited to be doing this and to be connecting with all of you because we chat a lot and we just think our chats are worthy of other people listening to them.
Yes. I remember the one day that we were going on and back and forth and talking about some things. And we were like, oh my God, it would have been so fun to record this conversation because some of the great stories we were sharing and the laughs and maybe just even like little bits of wisdom that might be helpful for other people on their spiritual journey or awakening or whatever it might be going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I know as you and I have been delving into, I guess, deeper parts of ourselves and this whole life thing, human thing that we're all here doing, and fun to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in my life, I'm finding myself meeting people and in conversations with people where the topics go so much deeper than just how's the weather and how's the kids. I feel like people are waking up to having more profound conversations, more talking about deeper topics, talking about, what's really going on in their lives and what it feels like to go through this life, to go through this human life with all of the ups and downs and uncomfortable situations and accomplishments and amazing things that happen during our time on this planet.
Yeah, I think it's time. I think more and more people are waking up. And when I say waking up, I mean like they're going from living a life that seems like everything happens to them. I know I was like this before, like, oh no, things just keep happening to me. Like I felt like I wasn't in control of it at all. Mm-hmm. And to all of a sudden these bigger perspectives and spiritual connection and realizing, I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's true. Like everything is connected. And there's just been a lot of lessons along the way with that. And definitely a lot of deep healing of my own, who am I kind of self-discovery stuff and realizing like why I did a lot of things I did or why I react in certain ways. And it's been, I don't know what word I would use for that. Huge, transformational for sure. Mind-blowing in a million ways. And then there's like these magical moments that I feel like have been happening as well. And I know you and I have talked about several of those and just how, again, everything is connected. Like I started studying astrology and that was like, for me, like my brain just blew out of my head the first time I really delved into that. I mean, I always liked do you remember when you were kids? Like I'm Canadian, so I don't know if they had them in the States, but they were like these little scrolls of the monthly horoscope, like paper scrolls that you would buy at the convenience store at the counter.
Yes. Yep. Remember those? Yeah.
I always loved those. And I feel like my mom was always like, oh my God, you're wasting your time on this stuff. But they were always like, I don't know. They were always interested me. I always felt like it resonated in some ways. And it's interesting, 40 years later or whatever, like having really delved into studying astrology and really now understanding it does give this bigger picture or blueprint to who we are and maybe what our soul is here to try to do and parts of our personalities and challenges, and also what we're going through on a collective level, like what everyone's going through. So it's, I don't know, as I could talk about it forever, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And when you said that, like that made me think of when I was younger too. And I remember my dad would always save the Sunday comics for me. Did you guys have the Sunday comics in the paper, right?
Yeah.
And after a while, like I remember grabbing the paper one time and seeing the comics fall out, but also seeing the lifestyle section where the horoscopes were when I was very young. And I remember reading, like after I learned what my astrological sign is, I'm a Pisces. I remember like faithfully looking for that section every week along with the Sunday funnies. I also wanted to read my horoscope for the week. And it's so funny now, like I was so young then, I never would have figured what that would have led to later on in my life now. And my interest in, astrology and, spiritual concepts and everything. I never would have guessed it would have led to this part of my life. And I can look back now too and see even other little like synchronicities that happened when I was growing up. Like I remember one year for my birthday, my mom let me do this bedroom makeover. And she asked me, what do you want to do? And I was like, I was 15. It was my 15th birthday. And I wanted to do my room in all suns, moons, and stars. And so I painted my walls all blue, and then I sponge painted on suns, moons, and stars stencils. I had this like beautiful poster of a sun and some other smaller like moon pictures that I hung up that I'd gotten at like a craft store. And she bought me these beautiful star curtains, and I had this gorgeous blanket for my bed that was like suns, moons, and stars and everything. And I look back at that and I'm like, oh my God, like how did I grasp onto that when I was even 15,
Yeah, I mean, that's, first of all, I love it. I also would have loved that bedroom. The wallpaper, I got to choose mine, I remember. And my parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. And my bedroom wall there still has, I think it's just one wall. It might have been two walls that I wallpapered, but it's not stars and moons, but it's got like, I don't know, a design that has this like silver outline around it. So it's got a little like that kind of feel of what you're talking about. But you know what's interesting, Jen? And I hope you're comfortable with talking about this, but it's interesting to me that you just said to me, how did I kind of know how to, do that or create that or connect in with that? But you mentioned to me in a conversation not too long ago, maybe it was your chakra dance you were doing, and you had seen, did you connect with a man that was like a star, like a person that speaks to this? I might not be wording it right, like communicates with the stars, or.
So I've been doing for the past several weeks this course with a practitioner of chakra dance. And so every Tuesday evening we would meet and we would work through a new chakra. And it was really a transformative experience. This particular chakra was the third eye chakra. And so you go into like a meditation. It starts with a meditation, and then she guides you through what's called a trance dance, where you close your eyes. There's this incredible music played that leads you to go really deep as you move your body. And she leads you into this guided visualization during the trance dance. And in this trance, I was able to see myself climbing this mountain. And at the top, when I reached the peak, there was a man there who was called the seer. And I saw him clear as day in my mind's eye, of course, but he was dark skinned with a white beard and clearly, had spent multiple years on this mountaintop guiding people.
Gnarly, eh?
And even though he was called the seer, his eyes were like cataracts, like completely clouded. And yet he guided me into seeing more deeply within myself. And he pointed up at the sky, and there was this beautiful, bright, like North Star kind of super ultra bright star. And this bright star like poured this incredible, magical, warm light down onto me. And with that light pouring onto me, I felt like something in me had cracked open. But I remember feeling so much familiarity with this man, the seer at the top of this mountain. It was like I had known this man for many lifetimes.
Wow. I think it's incredible. You probably have. And maybe he's, I don't know, like one of your guides, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe he's you in a past life, or
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It could be, I guess, a lot of things, but I think that's so interesting. And now when you mentioned today about, having done your bedroom in that way, it's
Yeah.
so, I don't know. I just feel like it is all connected because as I've gone through this journey or this effing process, and I called that because it can be frustrating because it's like changing you from everything you once believed and what society, at least for me, told me, and then going through these kind of stages of peeling back all these parts of me and layers of me, and then looking at what's under there and who I really am, or if that was just something I did to protect myself, or maybe I
Right.
learned that from someone else, or whatever it is that's been going on with me through this process. It's kind of like a clearing out, or I don't know what you call it, reorganizing, and so that I
Yeah.
can do more deeply with myself and be able to be more in the present moment, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the stars, moons, planets, all of that has always amazed me, and it always did. Like, I know for me, this isn't going to be I don't think everyone's like us. Like, I don't think everybody maybe had that love of moons and stars and whatever when they were children. And I know I did, I think I was telling you about this too on that same call a few weeks ago, but I did a past life regression a few years back now with a woman. Um, and she kind of records, like, she drops me into I don't know what the state is, that kind of comfortable meditative state, and then guides me back into this past life. And I was, the words I used, because she recorded it, I got to listen after, was that I think I was in like Nepal or the Himalayan mountains or something, if I'm saying the right mountain range, somewhere there. And that's what I did. I was a guide, and I would take people. I was a man in that lifetime, an old man at this part that I was being shown. And I would take people up to see the stars, and I could connect with the stars and get messages from them, and share that. I mean, I think I taught people actually, like, how to do the same thing. So I don't know if I was an astrologist, and this is just the way I was interpreting it during that session that I had with this woman that guided me through. But yeah, it kind of makes sense. Like, oh, no wonder I always loved those little scrolls of astrology. And when I first started studying astrology, my teacher looked at each of our charts. And when I say our charts, I mean our birth charts, which is basically a snapshot or a photo of the planets the moment you were born, including the sun and the moon. In astrology, they call those planets too. So she was
Mm-hmm.
looking at that snapshot of when I was born, and she was like, oh, you have so many aspects here, or points that signify that you would be a great astrologer, or that you've done this in past lives. So it's interesting when all these dots start to connect, and
Yeah.
then we're like, oh, maybe this is something I've done. I mean, I believe the past life regression. I do believe that we've had, other lives before this. But yeah, I just think it's so interesting how it all comes about. And there I am playing with begging my mom to buy me this little 25-cent scroll of astrology of Aquarius at the
Yeah.
store.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, Rebecca, like for me, most of my life, I will say I have felt like I have trouble connecting with other people. Like I have felt very different from other people my whole life. I have often known that I think differently than a lot of other people in my life. And at times I've very much felt like the lone wolf, the loner, like, I don't really fit in with the rest of the pack. Has that
Yeah.
been your experience through your life too?
You know what, Jen? I think I think it has been, although unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, because it was part of my journey, I went through a lot of trauma when I was young. So I kind of created a persona of someone who, and I was bullied and other things. And so I created this persona of someone who really fits in, that's really popular. And I was in that. I got lost in that for a lot of years. Like since I was a young teen until, 10 years ago or so, even. I feel like I was already starting to come out of it. But then as I've done this work or this, in-depth kind of look at myself and realization and now trauma healing and therapy and all that jazz. Yeah, definitely. Like I'm back to being the weirdo, the unique. I was always like that. And I think the world at that time, unfortunately, showed me that I wasn't safe to be that way, or at least that's how I, as a child, interpreted it. Yeah. But now I can realize like I am, it's fine. And I'm starting, my big thing is I've been trying to find my community, my other weirdos, the people like you and I that can talk about these things. And I hope through this podcast, we get to have more of those conversations with more people and bring in some of our other people out there that feel the same as us and have their unique. I think too that some of us that are like that, I mean, I don't know, I have a lot of different views on it actually. Sometimes I think like maybe we are older souls that are here to kind of guide the way or lead the way through these kind of awakenings, or everybody else going through these processes as well. Or maybe it is just for us, but I do feel like, yeah, we're stepping into this, I don't know, it feels like a new age, right? Was that make sense to you? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel things are changing around us a little bit. And I feel, I feel like I'm finding my weirdos more easily now. Yeah. My community is, I feel like a better sense of community now in these later years of my life. I'm finding more like-minded people and more people like you, that are into talking about astrology and into talking about, the bigger spiritual concepts and the tough concepts about life and whatnot. So it's really fascinating how I've seen the world around me evolve and the people around me evolve, or also, sadly, some of the people that haven't evolved and that kind of fall away from my community, because they don't believe in the same things, or we don't align anymore. Our energies don't sync up anymore. So that's interesting too.
Yeah, that's been a tough part, I think, of the whole transformational thing is, I mean, as I kind of, especially for me who had this persona going and my thing, like as I let go of a lot of that, I had to let go of the other people around it or how I was showing up in the world. And so, yeah, it was, some of that was hard because you think these people are really your friends or your people or whatever. And they were at that time. I don't know if they've grown in other ways or I've grown in this way, but yeah, we're not connecting in the same way. And I'm ready to connect deeper. I want that. I don't want to, I mean, don't get me wrong. Some people are like, oh, they do is talk about the weather, which I get is something we do sometimes to stay on the surface. But I also am one of those nerds who loves like actually talking about storms and weather stuff. But yeah, different level again, right? So I think it's cool that we're doing this and hopefully, yeah, creating, maybe okay, here it is, people. We're calling in all the weirdos to join us here. Yes. If you feel like we do, and you like having these deeper combos and are tired of just talking about surface level weather, or, if that team won or whatever the thing is, then yeah, we invite you to join us for sure.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Let's form our own community of weirdos.
Yes, let's be our unique selves, right?
Yes.
Let's show up. Let's be true. Let's be our true selves. Let's not be so scared of people, I don't know, judging us for being who we are. Like, this is the things I actually am interested in. These are the things I like, and I don't want to hide it anymore.
Right, exactly.
And I am a weirdo.
Right. And how else do we find like-minded people that we can truly connect with? unless we kind of fly our freak flag a little bit and say, this is the stuff that I'm interested in. This is the stuff I'm learning about. This is the stuff I believe in. If we don't put those things out there, then how do we really find the people we can connect to on the deepest level, you know? So I'm out of hiding as well. I'm coming out, baby.
That's right. We're out. We're ready. I love it. And I'm excited. I like that we're going to have these conversations. And you and I, which is cool, when we first connected, I mean, honestly, Jen, I think the first time you connected with me was through a reading. Or did you find me on Instagram? Was that?
I did. Yes. Yep. Yeah.
So you found me on Instagram. I have a business called Trust The Effing Process, and I offer intuitive readings and sessions, tarot cards, astrology, that sort of thing. But we connected it because Jen was very interested in learning more about this whole spiritual thing. And you've tried now all kinds of just like I have, like just trying different classes and courses, or, you know, the chakra dance, for example. And so we want to share some more of those experiences, because we have some funny stories and also, you know, cool stories, and some of them are deeper, more emotional stories to share, or experiences. But I think we all need to come together and be like, it's okay. That's how it helped me find myself, by doing those things and putting myself out there. And I think that's been the same for you.
Yeah, I think so. I can think of so many, like steps along the way. And even like, my first like toe dip in the pond of the bigger picture, the trust the effing process type of grand scheme of things. And I don't even want to mention it right now, because I think we should do like a whole separate show just on like our first, you know, taste of the bigger picture. So I don't even want to open that door just yet.
No, I think you're right, because I think then we'll gather for hours on that.
But what I'm really interested in, I do want to step back, talking about suns, moons, and stars. I really want you to tell me more a little bit about this full moon that's coming up, because for anybody that's you know, met us for the first time, and especially Rebecca, if you haven't seen her Instagram posts, her Facebook posts in the past, you know, she is a brilliant student of astrology. And she's constantly sharing with me all these incredible teachings from astrology. And so I always lean on her when I'm wanting to know what's happening with something happening in the stars. And we have this full moon in Capricorn coming up here. And I want you to talk a little bit about it and what maybe we might expect going through this time period of the full moon, if you feel comfortable doing that.
Oh yeah, of course. And you're too kind, by the way. But yes, we have, so on July 21st, we're going to have a full moon in Capricorn. But I'm just going to backtrack a little bit, because we had something a little rare going on, in that we also had a full moon in June. I think it was June 21st, if I'm correct with the date, also in Capricorn. And it's very rare to have two full moons in a row in the same sign. So the one in June it fell at 1 degree of Capricorn. And this next one in July is going to fall at 29 degrees. There's only 30 degrees. So it was basically at the beginning, and this is at the very end of it. So it reminds me kind of like, think about like bookends. Like there's something important that's happening during this time. And with it falling at the 29th degree in July, that's said to be the anaretic degree. And it's basically a degree kind of fate. It's something that our soul, or the collective energy, is trying really hard to fulfill, to complete, to wind up, like get the lesson already here, like, you know, step into that power, let that go, whatever it is. It's like, this is it's like the pressure boiler's on with it. So we may have been feeling this in the last month, of some big things happening that are putting us, maybe circumstances or experiences that are happening that are causing us maybe to hit, I don't know, a rock bottom, or an enough is enough, or a sudden aha moment, or learning. So we're definitely going to be noticing that. And the biggest thing, Jen, before I have some questions for you about these moons, is the one that's happening next week on the 21st is happening very close to where Pluto is in the sky at the same time. Pluto is the planet of transformation, death, and rebirth. And it's not always like physical death. It's more like the letting go of a chapter or a version or a belief or whatever it is, however it affects you, it's going to affect everyone differently, and then allow this new beginning to come in. And so it's pretty intense. It may not be like intense in a bad way for everyone. It could be a very wonderful, because I think it's bringing about these brand new sense of freedom and new beginnings, and especially when it comes to like some emotional stuff or some deep stuff we've held on to. It's like hitting that point of like, okay, you've been on this familiar path, whether it's comfortable or not, and it's ending now. So yes. Have you noticed that in your world at all?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
Okay.
To be perfectly transparent, I have been going through a divorce for a year now. It has been a year in progress, and really no end in sight so far.
But we're all cheering you on. We're cheering you on.
But during this year, boy, if you want to spark transformation in your life, try divorce. No, I'm not recommending it. I'm not recommending it. But and please don't take that as a joke about divorce. It's a very serious thing, and I don't wish it upon anybody. I wish for people to do whatever they possibly can to save their relationship. In my case, it everything was done that could have been done to save it. Anyhow, I have definitely seen things cycle around, lessons cycle around, patterns cycle around within this year that I've been on this transformational journey. And it's definitely felt like, why is this coming up again? I thought I healed this. I thought this was done. Why is this causing me this agony again? And I know it's telling me that I just haven't quite gotten it. I haven't connected the dots. I haven't put the puzzle pieces all together yet. So it's coming back around. And so I feel like I'm being pushed into deepening some of my spiritual practices, some of my just daily practices like breath work and meditation, just those practices that help keep me on an even, state of emotions, that keep me from like losing my mind sometimes, and journaling has been a big thing too for me. And there's been times where I have let go of these very important practices, and I know it. I feel it. I feel the intensity in my emotions when I let go of these practices, when I get away from them. And so I'm being called back to making these more routine again. And I'm already reaping the benefits from it. So, awesome. And I'm seeing where they're affecting some of my decision-making, some of my ability to cope with challenges that pop up during my divorce and even just in day-to-day life. So maybe that's what this full moon is calling me to do, deepen myself into my spiritual practices so that I can move through this with more ease and more grace and less attachment to outcomes.
Yeah. You know what, Jen, that's so bang on, I think, because I didn't actually mention too, Capricorn itself is an energy or a sign. I mean, I think it's ruled by the mountain goat. Like that thing can get up a slope or a mountain that's like vertical, and it still climbs. They don't give up. So, those, and the whole thing is it's the most hardworking sign of all the zodiac signs. And, the perseverance is there, the responsibility is there. And so when you're saying step by step, having to stick to these daily practices, that's what's going on for sure. That's the like bigger picture of, we have to put in the effort. We have to be responsible. We have to have patience. We have to be, persevere, keep going, commit to whatever it is that we're working towards or what we're really wanting. And it may be more of what your soul is wanting you to do versus what like you in this human body is really wanting to do. But it's going to be helpful for you, and it's going to help you to reach your goals, especially to do with security, and whether that's emotional security, physical security, financial, whatever it is, it's going to help us reach our goals. And this is even on the collective level, we're going to see how it plays out, but we're working to reach our goals. And I think actually also in the bigger picture, there is kind of like what we're talking about. There's a sense of, in order to reach this level of security that we all need and all want and all strive for, we have to also have the emotional security, right? We have to have that spiritual connection and this basis or firm foundation within ourselves that we can then grow upon, right? Or develop from, in order to really reach these goals of having this comfort and security and whatever else it is that we're trying to reach. So I think you're right on track. I think you're doing it, and I think you're doing a great job at it too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's not easy. And, again, friends, this is just a taste of what we're going to be talking about on this podcast. Yeah. We're not here to talk about light and fluffy, unicorns and rainbows. We might talk about that stuff too. Yeah. But we're really here to get into the nitty gritty, the bigger picture, and some really vulnerable shares. So please, stay with us, share this episode with your friends and family if you feel called to do that, because we hope more people are having these deeper conversations. We really do.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the aim. And maybe that's part of the full moon too for us, getting this out there and taking these steps to also help others to have, well, first of all, get ourselves to have these conversations and help get others to join us. So
yeah, absolutely. We've touched so many different amazing topics, and we definitely want to leave you all wanting more. So I think we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversations. If you feel called to, please leave us a comment or review on the platform you heard us on today. Send us an email at trusttheeffingpodcast@gmail.com. And if you're looking for additional support in your awakening journey or an intuitive reading from Rebecca, you can find her on social media at Trust The Effing Process. If you're a woman looking for holistic health and weight loss support and you'd like a consultation with me, Jennifer, you can find me on social media at Jennifer_Fleischman_health coach, or email me at Jennifer@jenniferfleischman.com. And of course, all this information will be posted below in the show notes. You can check it out. Always know, friends, that you are exactly where you should be at any given moment in your life, and everything is unfolding as it should be. So please remember to trust the effing
podcast.